Hi, everybody. Welcome to week number 3. There's 5 learning objectives for the week, but the big one, really, as you read through them, is this concept of collaborative professionalism. Is something we're going to get into a lot this week. That's the big theme for the week. Even like the fourth bullet in the learning outcomes. Examine the concept of relational trust in building collaborative learning communities. Again, connect it right back to collaborative professionalism. Understand how leading learning collaboratively impacts student-teacher practice. Again, connect it right back to collaborative professionalism. If you look in the unit notes, there's a couple of good videos there you should take a look at. Of course, Andy Hargraves is at the heart of our work this week. I work on a committee with Andy. He's at the University of Ottawa now, and we're working on a project together right now. So it's kind of cool to see him there and know that we're doing some of his readings this week. I've read the book Collaborative Professionalism with him and David O'Connor as well. It's a great book. It's not assigned to this course, but it's something you may want to look at in the future. The other thing I wanted to mention before we get into the DQs this week is at the end of week 4, not this week, but next week, week 4, your first assignment is due. So you'll see a link to that this week in the unit notes, just to remind you, hey, this is coming up in 2 weeks. And what I am going to say, and I'll put this in the course news and bulletins as well, that I'm offering an optional, don't need to come, but if you'd like to, Zoom call about the week 4 assignment, just to talk through anything related to it. This coming Thursday night at 8 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time. So again, the Zoom call is optional, but oftentimes a week before an assignment comes up, I find a time where I can get together with anybody who wants to and talk through the assignment and anything related to it, any questions that you may have. All right, so we'll keep talking about that. That's 2 weeks away, but it's not too early to start planning for that. So here are the 2 DQs for week number 3. The first one asks you to review the document Leading Collaborative Professionalism. That's one of the course readings for the week, of course. They then ask you to watch a brief video clip to hear directly as to what Andy Hargraves has to say about collaborative professionalism. And then I ask you to briefly record your thoughts and reflections. So the DQ this week is share one idea you found particularly interesting, one idea you'd like to integrate in your own practice, and one question that you may have. So, for example, after watching one of the videos, if I was doing this, I liked Andy's idea of starting with something small and non-threatening, like don't start a collaborative professionalism, project by observing each other's practice and critiquing it. Start small and non-threatening, as he states. I probably would then bring in McDowell's idea of staying small and focused, which is something that he talked about within Chapter 2, another one of our reading this week's. And really from there, I'd probably define collective efficacy from how Donahue, Hattie, and Eales did it from the article where they talked about it as a group's shared belief in its co-joint capacity to organize and execute the course of actions required to produce given levels of attainment. So that's from page 41 of that article. So I'd probably weave in a couple other articles and say the piece that resonated with me was really starting small. And connect it back. Then from there, I might suggest how I might do it if I were to integrate it into my practice. Here's an idea of how this could work at my site. And one question would be around how do I approach people who maybe I don't have the greatest professional relationship with. It's easy to collaborate with those that you naturally gravitate towards. So that's just an idea of how I might approach it. But again, think about how you could approach that DQ question. The second DQ says, McDowell states, culture is all about the collective answers to the question. How do the people in an organization solve the tasks of the organization? And what tasks does the organization work to solve? So the question is, do you see influences of collective efficacy operating as part of the culture in your own professional context? How and when? So what I would do in this case is think about, first off, my own professional context and base my question by describing a little bit what's happening in my organization and then connecting it to the course readings. So for example, I'd provide an example from my own context, and then I'd probably draw maybe from the 5 designs for collaborative professionalism from the Hargraves O'Connor reading, just so I could connect it back to the course readings, choose one of those and say, here's how I see collective efficacy happening in my organization, and maybe here's how it's consistent with what some folks are saying within the course readings. So hopefully that's a little bit of guidance on the 2 DQs this week. Again, my intent was to give you some examples of how I would approach those 2 DQs. Not that you have to do the same, but sometimes it's good to hear someone else talk it through. Look forward to seeing you in the DQs. Remember to always check the course news and bulletins for new stuff. And have a great week 3, everyone. I'll see you on the DQs.